Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa and this is Pro OverAnalyzed, and today we're going to take a look at the LA Gladiators. We're just going to pause this bad boy against the London Spitfire. Now what we're going to do in this video is something I don't think we've ever really done with Pro OverAnalyzed, and that is go into a lot of detail. Now normally, I would skim through and omit certain details just to make the video faster, but I'm not going to do that anymore for Pro OverAnalyzed, so I really want to break down what's going on in these games. This is a really interesting game to watch. Now, of course, you guys have probably seen the clip where LA Gladiators do that fancy maneuver, and we'll break that down when we actually get onto their attack. But I want to show you what's going on in this game, because there's a lot of... It's almost like a clash of play styles, and the way I like to view this is we're looking at London, who are quite rigid, versus a very flexible LA Gladiators that seem to be playing the team in front of them rather than just executing plans they think is going to work against the enemy. So take a look at this. If we just get rid of the that on the screen there and we just play this, so 1 second, let's play that there, and we just let this go forward. Watch the team comps. Now, okay, there we go. So we get the final start of the team comps. Now, this here is the standard defensive position that you typically see most of the team set up in. You'll notice that you've got Shawford in this position here, but what Shawford's going to do is he will relocate round to this position here. This gives him much better line of sight onto the target, and it allows him to cover this flank here through the hotel, and also obviously he can cover this area here. It's much better than him being down here because, well, he doesn't have much line of sight. The reason why he starts there is so potentially he can get an early kill. And of course he will get an early kill in a second. But if we look at the team comps, right, what we see is a pretty standard double sniper Orisa comp here off Gladiators. Now, it's got some very simple components to this. So you've got Orisa and you've got Roadhog. They can do the Hulk combo. So the hook grab, the mini grab and the hook. Very cool. I don't think we necessarily see it too often in this game, but it's a nice little bit of combination. Obviously, Roadhog, really good at breaking down barriers as well. What we do see, though, is the double sniper, the Hanzo and the Widow. Now, obviously, Shawford is an excellent Widow player, so yeah, you know, you probably want him on Widow. Hanzo is Hanzo. He puts out tons of damage. One thing you probably think is a little bit weird here is normally you'd expect to see a Zarya with the Hanzo, right, just for the combo, but they've not gone down that route, and that's kind of okay. Then we look at London. There's a very interesting thing here going on with London. This is a very deliberate set plan which is being executed. This is solo support, so all we've got is a Mercy for support. Maybe I should draw the arrow that way. Well, we've got some Mercy, right? Then we've got a Pharah, then we've got a Widow, an Orisa. Strangely, an Orisa. You wouldn't expect to see an Orisa sometimes here on attack. You could maybe have just taken the Reinhardt or even a Winston, but obviously Winston diving into what LA's got, probably not a great idea because Hanzo will just delete you. So Orisa's sort of like, okay, where are we going with this? That's fine. Hanzo, obviously, and a Hog themselves. So it's set up to be pretty good, right? Remember what I just said, ladies and gentlemen, about Shawford's positioning. Watch this. Immediately, the Pharah's dead. So Shawford pops the Pharah. That basically means this push, well, we're going to have to wait a few more seconds. It's not ideal. So London are waiting around. There's the res. We get back into it, but the res is down for the engagement. So what we're seeing here is London sort of trying to position themselves. And what I want to show you guys in a second is how they spread out and what they're trying to do here with the attack. So let's take a look at this now, because this is what's interesting. Can you see the tracer there? Right. So we've got one flanker on the left. You'll notice somebody's just gone this way. Well, who's missing from all of this picture? It's Birdring. So Birdring's over there. So what we've got here is sort of both flank positions covered, and we've got a very slow and deliberate push here with Gesture closer and Prophet. And I think that was Prophet, actually. Maybe that was Prophet that went over there. Hang on, let's just check this. I think that was Prophet that went over there. But yeah, it is Birdring. I know it was Birdring. Yeah, it's Birdring. There we go. So Birdring goes over there, as I said, and the setup's ready. So we've got two flankers, right? Now, the plan here is quite simple. This flanker, this tracer, is going to rush around this way, yeah? And then attack from this side. This one can go over here. It can fire in directly from where it is, but also it can... Let's just get rid of that again and again, and... well... We'll leave this one here, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful. Or it can start transitioning around the back here, take this high ground, you know, or sort of behind the high ground here, fire into this. So what they're trying to do here is set up overlapping fields of fire, give LA Gladiators a lot of things to think about. It's like, how are we going to defend this point? They're coming from every angle. What's going on? Well, I'll tell you what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute beautifulness. Watch this. So what I'm going to do is pause just as they begin to get closer. All right. We'll go a little bit further. I mean, one thing you can see here is obviously Fury is trying to work down the Orisa barrier with his Roadhog alternate fire, which is cool. But here we go. This is the interesting bit. This Tracer here has been spotted. Somebody in this pack here has most likely spotted the Tracer as it blinked through down the bottom, or the Widow has heard the Tracer move. Can you see who is there? Look, and can you see which way they are facing? That is Surefour on the Widow, and he is facing, looking back towards sort of point 2 on King's Row. He is looking for the Tracer. He is waiting for the Tracer. He is going to counter that Tracer flank. Now watch what happens here, because this like single little move by Surefour essentially means it's over. This push is over. Bang, there you go. That is so crucial, right? Now this means London have got a decision to make now. What do we do? You can see Gladiators jump down onto the point just to make sure they've got it. You know, they move back again. It's all very cool. It's all very easy. This now is not a great position for London to be in. It's definitely not a good position for Fury to be in. But one thing's very cool, which is happening here. Again, LA Gladiators adapt, and this is like the crucial thing you will see throughout this clip is London going into attacks. They don't ever seem to be dictating the way the fight's going. You would expect a team like London to be capable of doing that, but they keep showing us time and time again that probably they're not. Look at this, right? So LA Gladiators are set up on the top. Tracer is about to go in. Now, of course, BAMBOOZLE is playing the Tracer because they've gone for single support to give them that sort of additional flank capability, which hasn't worked, right? It's been shut down straight away. Well, BAMBOOZLE was killed immediately on Farah. Then he was killed on Tracer. Now he's going to go in with Tracer again. But watch what happens. So he goes in and he immediately recalls. Why does he recall? Because look who is standing there. It is Hog. This is beautiful off Shaz. They know there is a Tracer in play, so Hog, instead of standing on the high ground, is standing on the low ground, preventing any kind of Tracer flank. Works flawlessly. It's so good. It's so good to watch this happen. Also, I hope you guys are enjoying this, me going into a bit more detail, because breaking it down into like every little minute aspect does really give you more appreciation for what's going on, rather than just generalize like, oh yeah, there was a great shot by Surefour. Like, yeah, there's always a reason behind things that happen in this game. So now we start going into this phase where London seem very disjointed. Fury, I don't really know what he was doing down there. He's playing a bit of a ridiculous game, because if he got hooked, if the Hog was still down there, he's dead. I mean, look at his health. Like, this is so risky. But still, we've got Gladiators taking the high ground. And again, London, look at what they're doing. London, again, are trying to set up for this slow, sort of gradual push. So they've got their Orisa and sort of their main damage-dealing component, I guess you could say, in the front there. So you've got your Orisa, you've got your Hanzo. What they're looking to do there is set up a barrier to contest this barrier. So it's almost like two bunkers attacking each other. That's fine, but while that's happening, London are relying on BAMBOOZLE on the Tracer, Birdring, and now Fury on the Hog to sort of encircle their position and take them out. But watch what happens. So as we go back through this, let's just play it. There we go. Awesome. Lovely. London are not really very organised right now. You see Surefour's got a good position there. They finally step onto the point just to force Gladiators to do something, because that's the big issue with all of this that London have done is it's very slow, it's very methodical, but they're not actually getting much in the way of effective time on the point. They're not really building ultimates up that fast. I mean, look at this fight, right? This fight, and watch what happens here. This is actually crucial. This is... Closer has just popped his Valkyrie there, and I have no idea why he's done that. That, to me, is quite questionable, especially when you're faced with an Orisa. Yes, she does have a cooldown there on Halt, but yeah, you're basically getting attacked by the entire team. It is a very risky move to do. So he pops his ultimate, throws one ultimate away. And the point I wanted to make here is because London has sort of taking such a slow and gradual approach to the attack, it plays into the hands of LA Gladiators, because the defensive team typically don't want the offensive team to build loads and loads of ultimates and then just start steamrolling them with ultimates. That's not great. If they take longer to attack, if you can control the attack, then it works into the defender's favour. So there we lose Closer there, which isn't great. And then these two are basically dead. They're pushed into a corner. They can't really do anything. We get a... I don't know, you could say maybe a questionable supercharge there from iRemix just because of the coverage. It would be better if you put the supercharge down now just to give, you know, maybe a bit more coverage. But it's kind of besides the point. It's not really an ultimate they need to absolutely hold the point. What is happening here is we've just got bits of London everywhere. And this isn't ideal. it's ideal for Gladiators. I mean, you can see Trace just been killed there by Big Goose, which is pretty funny. But although I must say, Widows with the not Widows, Mercies with Valkyrie are super deadly. So now we're in a position here where London have had staggers. It's not been great. They've been forced back off the point. But what have they got for their efforts? Well, they've actually got this much point cap, so it's not too bad. We've got 2 minutes remaining on the clock, so it's not a total disaster for London at the moment. Ultimate economy wise, you look at this and you think, well, okay, they don't really have too much to work with here. They're going to have a Diva bomb fairly soon, and they're definitely going to have a Hanzo. We've got a Tracer bomb. I keep saying we. This is just because London Spitfire, but London Spitfire have got a Tracer bomb. I almost said it again. They've almost got wall hacks, which is awesome, and they've almost got Hanzo again. So it should be 3 ultimates against 2 to begin this fight. Let's see what happens. Now, obviously, after the end of this fight here, Shaz has used his whole hog, which, hey, wasn't too bad. I mean, it's pushed them away from the point. It's not too bad. We've got Birdring sitting in a very iffy position. Rest of London have backed off. This now is not great, I would say, for LA Gladiators because they've given up the high ground, and they won't be able to get back onto the high ground before the next fight begins. So watch what happens. So Shaz is just pushing forward there with the whole hog, which is awesome. And then we get this sort of ground fight happening here. iRemix is very lucky to survive there. Eventually gets taken down. See, but can you see the crucial thing which has happened here? The reason why London have taken this point is because Gladiators gave up their positioning. Gladiators have said, okay, we'll just fight you on the point. That's not what they should have done. They should have pushed back to the high ground immediately. The problem is they didn't really have the window for it. London almost forced them down. So after a very slow, methodical, and honestly not very impactful sort of initial push, London eventually managed to take it through forcing LA Gladiators out of position, and LA Gladiators not really taking the time to push back. Now, in Streets phase, this is something... I mean, okay, let's just take a... apparently, we've got a replay. I remixed there, that's fine. But what we want to look at here is the... I'll pause this as soon as we get past the replay. There we go. So what we want to look at now is the team comps and what's actually happening. So London have dropped the solo support, which was quite clearly a very planned out strategic attack on the first point, which worked okay, but only really capped the point because Gladiators gave up their position. I mean, honestly, I don't think London would have taken that point without Gladiators falling down onto the point. So what we've got here is closer with, obviously, he's got Valkyrie again, but now we've got Badosin back on Badosin's character, back on Zen, instead of messing around on Tracer. When we look at Gladiators, though, notice what's happening here. We have got a Reinhardt. A Reinhardt for Streets phase is a beautiful thing. Look at what we've got on London's team. We've got an Orisa. You never really typically see this. Why have we still got Orisa? Now, there might be a few reasons for this. The first one is, well, it's nearly got Supercharger, so maybe they're looking to do something with Supercharger. The other reason is Orisa is not too bad. It's very close here, so the shield actually on the payload and stupid tactics like that can be quite good. Orisa, though, is quite immobile. The better tank option here is the Reinhardt, because Reinhardt, remember, this is King's Row, right? So it's an old Overwatch map. It was designed for Reinhardt. Reinhardt's shield covers most of, like, if that Reinhardt was there, he's blocking the whole choke there and moving forward. That's not really something Orisa can achieve. Also, when we look at the rest of LA Gladiators, essentially, they've got Shaz on Zen instead of playing the Hog. So let's go back to this now and let's see what happens through this wonderful Streets phase. Hopefully I've identified the key differences there in the team comps. But yeah, we're seeing what is like normally a standard push. You sort of rush forward, you try and catch any of the enemy team down. Now look at this. This is something, and this is a bit of a spoiler, that London never managed to do throughout their entire defensive phase on this map when we eventually get to it. This is LA Gladiators together. All right, so we've got 5 members of LA Gladiators there, with the exception of who we've got missing there. We've got hang on, so we've got Remix, we've got Void, we've got Silkthread, we've got Shaz, we've got Big Goose, Surefour, yeah, he's off somewhere around here, or maybe he's coming back. Who knows? He's coming in somewhere anyway, so that's cool. But this here illustrates what I was just explaining with the Reinhardt. Look at the barrier, right? That barrier allows you to push forward. I mean, this is such simple Overwatch, and of course we see Prophet swap to Brigitte as well, which. Brigitte is very strong because it's very sort of close and confined environment here. So we've got the triple support lineup from London in play now. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this and then watch what happens. So remember, we've got Diva Bomb as well, which is actually really huge here. So Gesture pushes forward, his barrier is destroyed. London now do not have any defensive potential because we've just lost Jester's shield. He should be able to deploy a new one fairly soon, but there is a little bit of a window of opportunity, and we are going into the supercharger being used. Profit goes forward. London are slowly pushing round, but look at what LA Gladiators do. You kind of caught it a little bit there. They backed off. What do you do when supercharger is in play? You don't want to fight the enemy team, do you? So you just back off. That's all they did. I mean, they managed to kill it with the Diva Bomb, which was the only thing they killed. But the other thing the Diva Bomb does here is it forces everybody out of position. And Gladiators know this, and they push forward. Like, this to me is a team that is playing together for each other versus a team which is just trying to execute set plans, and it's not working out that great. So, another good re-engagement here by Gladiators. They push forward. Remix is kind of out of position there, so it does get killed. But that's okay, because he's given his team enough space, enough time to work, to try and put pressure on London and try and stop them. Because one thing you've got to remember here is you are never expected to hold this point. So anything you can do to choke up the enemy team through that phase there in streets is totally fine. Like, totally do that. Like, it doesn't matter if you die, because you will be able to recontest. Now, what we're looking at here is London pushing forward again. This is where the Orisa is quite strong, right? Because Orisa dropping a barrier there is really, really good. Because why is Gesture there? Remember, Gesture is a very cerebral player, very clever player. Well, there's a couple of things he can do from this position, right? Namely, the first one, he drops his barrier down, which is cool. The other thing he can do is he can use Halt to pull people into the hole. There is a hole, obviously, right down there. I guess it was sort of down here if we sort of went with perspective-wise, maybe. I don't mean by the large health pack, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, it's sort of, whatever, you know where it is, the hole. He can grab people into the hole, which would be really, really cool. So that's why he's pushed forward. Profit's obviously standing next to him. You've got Fury set up to the left. Again, this is very methodical off London. This is a nice sort of setup, getting ready to accept LA Gladiators onto them, because they will contest this, because, well, they've got time to do it. So why wouldn't you do it, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, so Hanzo spamming arrows down, that's cool. One thing I don't like here, though, as this is about to play out, is Birdring's position, because he's on the low ground. I don't understand why you would do that. You'd be looking to grab the high ground and just sort of make yourself nice and safe and just fire shots in and that kind of approach. Anyway, so he backs off eventually. We see a nice sort of little grab to choke them up. But the problem is now London know that the point is being contested. Birdring does take this position. Well, let's jump back. Birdring does take this position up here, which I guess you could actually argue the reason why Birdring was down on the low ground there was just to try and get a few cheeky shots while he knew it was safe. And then he does reset back to the high ground, which is good. So what we see here is London, they're getting ready to accept this. Birdring's position's good here. We've got the Hanzo Dragon Strike, which comes through. Now, what is the point of this Dragon Strike? And let's have a little bit of a lesson here on this Dragon Strike usage in this game. Because there is no Zarya, you are not going to do the stupid Wombo combo. That is not an option. Instead, they always, almost exclusively, use the Dragon Strike to just dislocate enemy positions, right? You know London are in this area, so how do you spread them up? You fire the Dragon Strike through, and then your team follow it in. You use the Dragon Strike like an engagement ultimate, and that is exactly what LA Gladiators do here. You will notice as well that Gladiators have changed Shawfort onto the Pharah instead of the Tracer. Maybe makes a bit of sense because you can just sort of pile damage into this. You don't like Tracer. Maybe you can find it a bit difficult to find opportunities here because everybody's so close together. And of course, Profit is on Brigitte. Probably don't really want to run a Tracer into Brigitte. So let's watch how this plays out, because this push here comes through on the back of the Dragon Strike, and then they push forward onto the point, right? Profit's low, Profit gets killed. Birdring's in a good position. It's up to Birdring here to get picks, to just like sort of do damage to take people out, to push them back. This is where DPS do have a lot of pressure put on them. When like the chips are down, you have to get results. If you're not going to get the results, it's going to be difficult. The Pharah Mercy combo there comes out, actually is really strong, because what do London have to counter it? Well, they've got Profit on Widow now. This is actually quite clever by London, because Profit has died on the Birdring, and now this is an example of changing up their comp to try and counter what's going on. But can you see what's happening there? I just want to bring this back just a few seconds. What I'm going to do is pause this on the positioning of Shawfort. So what's Shawfort? He knows there is a Widow in play now. Watch where he goes. He just sort of is waiting on the left. He's waiting on the left. See him there, waiting on the left there? Now what he's trying to do here is obviously get cheeky shots down into the payload, right? Well, not the payload, because the payload's obviously down here, but cheeky shots into like the enemy team as they're pushing up. But this also means he's going to be able to spot out the Widow, because it's probably obvious the Widow's going to flank around this way, so she can get shots down into the enemy team this way, right? So watch what happens here. London are trying to regroup. I mean, to be fair, London are pushing back for a regroup. They've still got 1 minute and 52 seconds, so it's not like we have to really rush this. So let's see what happens here. So Shaw 4 is sort of messing around on the side. His Mercy will connect to him in a second. He gets a bit of a shot. I think she connects to him in a second. There we go. Gets a bit of a shot, so he knows that the Widow is on the left. He would make the call. Look at what they're doing as a team, though. You can see that immediately after that call, they have pushed back. Birdering gets a good kill there on the Pharah, which is awesome. Yeah. Now, this is a questionable ultimate. The reason why this is questionable is, who is this forcing away from the point? What is this actually stopping them doing? This is the big question with Hanzo ultimates right now, because they're not being used for combos. Unless you can get a cheeky kill. The thing with these ultimates is you're using them as an engagement, as I said. This is not an engagement, all right? Or is it? They're a man up, so they're thinking, okay, let's just go for it. Let's go, let's push. So maybe it is the right thing to do, but does it work out that way? Well, there's a bit of a problem, isn't there? Because, well, Mercy can res. So Mercy instantly reses the Pharah. But then what we end up seeing is Fury does get the kill on Silk Thread. So London are still in the advantage here. So you would be expecting them to be able to push this forward. And they are getting close. We've got the barrage ready for Shaw 4. Void has almost got another bomb. And they are very, very close. Again, great discipline there. By and this is just like whatever, but great discipline by iRemix there to then slowly get back onto the point just as it's about to be capped. I mean, that's huge. That offshore 4 is interesting, I'm going to say. I think he was getting a little bit sort of blinded by, oh my god, there's 2 supports in the subway. I'm just going to kill both of them. But look what happens here. London, I don't think should have lost that fight. That seems really weird to me that they lost that. Anyway, they end up losing it, and they're pushed back. Now, we're in 43 seconds remaining, and this means you need to regroup, get back together, and then push back. Obviously, one of the funny things in all of this is Hanzo Birdering on London's side does have another Dragon Strike available. So the usage of the Dragon Strike earlier on, while it wasn't the best, doesn't really matter because you've just got another one. So this means London do have time to attack, and this is where I have a big, big, big problem with what London were trying to do throughout this entire phase. Arissa was not the tank they needed, right? Yes, she was okay. Yes, they stayed on her for too long. Reinhardt has, I mean, he's got a 2,000 HP barrier. It's way more than what Arissa can drop down. And it's mobile, and is Reinhardt. He's a big target, rushes into your face, right? They should have had the Reinhardt much earlier. What we're looking at now is 20 seconds to go. London thinking, oh, okay, let's go for Zarya. You know, Zarya is really strong on this map, which... You know, why wasn't she ran earlier? Maybe they stayed too long on the hog. And then we get Gesture. Crucial. Why am I drawing I don't know why I draw the arrows down that way. Just get rid of that, right? Gesture finally swaps to the Reinhardt. Now, this means you will be able to push behind the barrier. It means there is combo potential between these two. But I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, with 22 seconds left, you ain't comboing anything. Like, if you win the next fight, sure, you'll have a combo available, but it's a bit late, isn't it? Like, there were times where the fights were lost where they could have been going into this fight with Dragon Strike and a grab available. And then you look at LA Gladiators. What have they got to stop that? Arguably nothing. Yeah, you can trance in it, but you're just going to get like smashed through the trance. So it's a bit of an iffy one. All right, this is what I wanted to see. Now, it pains me to see this with 6 seconds left on the clock. And what really annoys me is I know from obviously, you know, being part of London and looking at the team, I know they're capable of playing this really well. Why did it take this long for this to actually happen? Like, so now what we've got is London going into an engagement with a Hanzo ultimate against a Transcendence, right? There will probably be iRemix gets his ultimate up in this fight if it turns into a brawl. But this is pretty much what you want to see here as the attacking team. You're going to push in. The enemy team don't have position. They're all on the payload. You've got the chance, like your Widow's here. She's got the chance to go up here and flank. She's got the chance to go around here and flank. Your main tanks are pushing into the front line. Really, this is a great position to be in. This is why you never, well, not that you never, but you would expect the attackers to take this point compared to the defenders holding it. Right, so let's take a look at this. So if we go forward now and we play this out, I want to watch a few key things which happen. So Gesture goes in. Now he's got Bubble. He can be really aggressive on the Reinhardt. He gets bashed into a corner here. This is not great. This is a good Hanzo Dragon Strike, but the thing is, Shaz can probably offset the damage with his Transcendence here, because obviously they're not clumped together. People can run out of the way of it. They're not going to stand there and take the big hit from the Dragon Strike. So what we've got here is a massive, crucial problem. And I don't think this is down to Gesture's like sort of poor position, you could say. He got whacked with Reinhardt's hammer, and Reinhardt's hammer is actually really, really annoying. It can sometimes boop you quite far, and it bashed him into this corner. Now, as soon as this happened, Void just gets onto him with D.Va. I mean, he's screwed, and iRemix is bashing him. He's in Transcendence. Gesture doesn't have that level of healing, so now he's in a really bad position, and he's just going to get his brain smashed in, push back out of the fight. Void, you can see, was playing a little bit aggressively, but he can afford to do that because he's in Transcendence. He's going to get healed back up. Now, London don't have any ultimates really to work with. Remix has got a shatter. The main win sort of condition here, and you'll hear a lot of people talk about win conditions. I haven't really spoke about them. Maybe I should do that in future. In future, what I should probably focus on with this is showing you the rollouts, showing you the win conditions teams are going for, showing for things like how they're trying to set up ultimate plays, how they're setting up flanks. But I think I've done most of that in this video so far. However, because I mean, I want to go into detail, but I don't want to be here for 3 hours making a video, ladies and gentlemen. It'd be crazy. The win condition here is dead simple. It's Smash Gesture's barrier, Remix shatters through, we win the fight because they just won't get onto the payload. They'll all be earth shattered, right? That's what he's looking to do. That's exactly what they need to do, and watch what happens. So Gesture is super, super low. He's dead. That's it. iRemix is like, well, okay, I'm just going to earth shatter. We get the res. We get the Transcendence. It doesn't really matter, though, because London are just getting literally smashed here on this point, and all of that fight loss came down to Gesture getting smashed into the corner, pushed out of position, and having to run away. Off the back of that, LA were able to push through. Let's jump forward then and go to the attack phase. Let's have a look. Let's go maybe here. And you can say as well, London looking a bit stressed. LA are not looking stressed. I mean, the one sort of disclaimer I can say here is I've been to the arena loads of times, and it is very, like, the fans are behind LA. It's their home stadium, right? So maybe that does affect them. But then again, they're professional athletes, so they shouldn't really be getting affected by anything like that. So let's take a look at this. This is the play a lot of you guys would have seen. In fact, I put it in my video that I put out yesterday, I believe, showing you their sort of wonderful thing. So let's just go over what's happening here before it starts. So when we look at the team comps here, London have gone for the Junkrat setup. This is your kind of anti-flanker setup. You know that they want to fight on the point. You know Junkrat's going to do loads of damage. You know Junkrat's going to charge his Riptire super fast. If the enemy team try to push through... let's just get this on a nice pause. If the enemy team try to... well, I mean, I guess what I was saying is if they tried to push through Hotel, but we'll see him push through Hotel in a second. So what they're trying to do here is... Let's pause this here, right? What's happening here is LA Gladiators are waiting. They're getting together. They give the call to move forward. They notice that there's a Junkrat in play because obviously they're being spammed. They would look for things like traps, destroy the trap, whatever. Junkrat wants you to go this way, because Junkrat can just spam you into this choke. However, if you play with your Reinhardt barrier, you play with your D.Va defense matrix, and they've got a Zarya in there, they really shouldn't take any damage. Also, you'll see they've got Shaz on the Moira. Very deliberate selection. Moira will be able to heal everybody in that group faster than anybody in the game. Faster than Mercy, which is why she's not there, right? You'll notice that Shaw4 is sitting on Brigitte. Now, Shaw4 is in the spawn because this is the infamous sort of... What can we... It's like a bamboozle, right? It's like the I'm going to call the video that. It's like bamboozle something. I don't know. It's like you've been absolutely bamboozled. So he's sitting in the spawn, whatever. Actually, a funny thing at the time, some of the guys who do the casting for Overwatch, I follow them on Twitter. They were like, we were asking the referees, has his PC stopped because he's just sitting in the spawn? And they're like, no, it's fine. Anyway, so what they're looking to do here is move through the hotel, which you could argue is exactly what Profit wants them to do. So they start moving through the hotel. Notice their positioning. Notice Zarya. Really cute here, just outside the barrier, because she's immune to the damage. While she can take 200 damage before it disappears, but she's got a barrier on. She's going to get charged. It's fine. It's totally safe. Like, everything they're doing is totally safe. They start moving around the point here. They're behind the barrier. Obviously, Big Goose is there on the Lucio as well, just to move them through quick. Very easy, very cool, very nice. There, they get the grab. It's fine. They don't care. They're pushed back. Now, London are doing what you would expect London to do, which, again, makes, I think, London quite readable. Like, you know what London are going to do in a lot of ways. And I think we're very much past the point now where you can just outplay enemy teams with better players, because arguably everybody playing in ATL is like the same caliber. This is where we're going to pause, though, because this is where the sort of bamboozle happens. Now, look at London. Look what London have done. Again, in fact, I'm just going to play this before he takes his first shot. Yeah, so I think he kills Widow first. So London have just done exactly what you would have expected. So LA Gladiators come in this way, they go around the hotel, they go onto the high ground, they're around the back, yeah? London was set up over here. They don't want to be up there when the rest of their team come rushing in. So London then start their counter rotation. You know, the tanks go onto the point. Widow sets up here thinking, oh, it's going to be easy. Everybody's exposed. You know, it's full. It's cool, but what's happening? Well, Gladiators want you to do that because, like I said, quite readable, right? So this is what happens. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is the LA Gladiators coaches said, look, this is a one-time strat. Like you can't do this again. Like once you've done it, that's kind of it. But if you've got the opportunity to do it, then take it. And look at that. They have literally blasted open the point. You kill the Widow, you kill the Mercy. That's it. It's game over. You push forward, you take the point. Such a really well-played thing. And this is where I think London, as a team, heavily suffer. Like I don't think I've ever got the impression that London are this team which you're sort of scared playing against. Like, oh, I don't know what London are going to do. They could do this mad strat. They could be, they could do this. They could do that. In stage one, yeah, they were decent. Managed to take the stage, but you could argue that even back then, it was just because of the possible skill gap between the players, which obviously isn't the case now, because these teams have all been playing together for ages. And if anything, you could argue London look a little bit kind of behind compared to other teams, especially based off this showing. Gladiators look light years ahead, which also you could say is a little bit worrying as a London fan, because it shows that maybe London don't adapt to new metas very well, which is not great. All right, so what we've got here, right, is obviously we've got them. They haven't decided to start working in the bookshop. No. They're hiding behind the counter here. They're getting ready for a cheeky sort of rapid hit onto London, as London are like all split and way out of position. They won't expect it. Which again shows you like sort of the players are enjoying themselves, yeah? If they're going to try mad stuff like this, they're having fun. If you're having fun, you're probably going to be playing much better. It kind of goes into a bit of sports psychology, but yeah. All right, so look at London, right? London have gone to Winston. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. Now, Winston, like, you can't straight up... in the past, you can't say things like, just, you can't roll a dive tank anymore. You're just going to lose, right? The reason that's not true is because there are opportunities, there are windows, there are ways you can play the Winston to make it effective. The issue is this is King's Row, and King's Row, you want that Reinhardt barrier. Like, I find it very difficult to see where you would take the Winston instead of the Reinhardt against the comp that LA Gladiators have got, against what London know that they're running. So let's take a look at this and watch how this plays out. So LA Gladiators in a cute position. Obviously, we've seen Winston really quite far forward for London before all this began. Look at this. They're like, uh-oh, we're caught out of position. Remix is just rushing in. He doesn't really have any options here, so he's kind of just going like Reinhardt mad. He's just going to start swinging his hammer. But this is not what London expected. And again, this plays into it's not what they expected. London, if you throw like curveballs at them, they're just like, whoa, we don't know what we're doing, and they just really kind of crumble. But one of the things which is really huge here, Remix is mental now, and Earth Shatters. I think he's I play Reinhardt. I know what it's like. You just like swinging your hammer like a madman, and then you want to drop it down. But all of this, right? The brilliance of this, of LA Gladiators, is it doesn't let London regroup. London had regrouped effectively to stop the push, but they hadn't because of the advanced position Gladiators took up. Then they sort of spring this mad trap. London are not together. London don't have the chance to regroup and engage. Now, London are in a very bad position now because they need to contest the point. Again, we're still on this Winston. This is I can't stress how much of a bad pick this is right now. Winston is not going to be able to stand up against the tanks that are in play here, that Gladiators have got. Gladiators are going to sit on the point, and what's Winston going to do? Winston is your tank you need to engage, right? The only thing I can think in my head, the reason why Gesture is still on the Winston is because they want to get back to make sure they can contest the point, because it is very close to being capped, right? So they're moving forward here. Gesture takes the high ground. You sort of bait them in, bait them out. He's jumping about. He is kind of safe where he is, but now it's not great for him. So he's out of the fight because he's taken way too much damage. They can't keep him alive. Prophet's trying his best. Shaz somehow kills Birdring. Big Goose kills Gesture. It's all a bit too easy. Like, we've got like a Dragon Strike coming through, a Diva Bomb. It's not really going to do anything. So, yeah, I don't know. It was a really frustrating one watching London, this was. I hope that the games we see today, there is a bit of a change. Obviously, LA are loving it. You would be loving it. They, for all intents and purposes, annihilated London. There's no. Look at the score. We'll pause. There's no question about that. I don't know whether it's a confidence thing with London. I don't know whether it's London are just too easily readable. I don't know whether it's London are not really given the flexibility they should be as players to play. I just don't know. But it is frustrating. there you go, guys. This has been Pro OverAnalyzed. Now, what I want you guys to do in the comments below is I have gone more in-depth on this video than I have in any previous Pro OverAnalyzed video. What I will do going forward in the future is I hope to make these more in-depth. What I don't want to do is make videos that bore you. So if this bores you guys, let me know, because I don't want to bore you guys. You know what I mean? It's fine. Like we can go and we can make more just sort of normal overanalyzed videos instead of doing Pro OverAnalyzed, you know, and sprinkling that in. But let me know what you think about it, guys, in the comments below. I've been Stylosa, and this is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then let me know what you think about the video in the comments below, and I will catch you lovely lot on the next one. Toodaloo.